Many women believe that orgasm difficulty means that their body isn't responding correctly, or in some cases, women even feel like that something might be wrong with them. But in many cases, the body is actually doing something very intelligent. It's protecting itself. It's protecting itself in the sense that the nervous system senses some sort of threat, even subtle threat. And I've talked about this in the last two videos, the first being external threat, right? Something in the environment that feels threatening, such as worrying that somebody's going to come in the room, meaning that they haven't set up a sense of safety in their environment. And the second being a sense of threat in their thinking, judging their body, judging the size of their clitoris or their labia, not feeling they're not looking right, or feeling that they look overweight, or worrying. All of those things signal threat to the nervous system. So now we're going to talk about how the body can hold protective patterns like muscle tension, guarding, and difficulty relaxing, particularly when the nervous system has been trained through default. We didn't plan on training our nervous system to be on guard. Society facilitated that, right? I mean, society facilitates this whole concept of us being on guard unconsciously through social scripts of the way women are supposed to behave or act, through religious scripts. Many religious scripts tell us how we're supposed to behave sexually, so that can facilitate shame, which is a threat to the nervous system. So it creates difficulty relaxing, which in turn results in difficulty experiencing desire, difficulty experiencing arousal and lubrication, and sometimes can cause pain, sexual pain, and for sure have difficulty with orgasming. When the body is protecting itself, orgasm clearly becomes much more difficult to experience. Hello, I'm Dr. Suzanne Mulvihill, a clinical sexologist and orgasmologist, and I'm a researcher studying female orgasm in the emerging field of sexual neurorehabilitation, really rehabbing your orgasm. So in this series, we've been talking about safety and the nervous system. And as I mentioned, we discussed environmental safety, then we explored internal safety and self-judgment, and today we're going to talk about a third layer of safety, safety in the body itself. Because sometimes the environment may be safe and the mind may want and desire pleasure, sensation, penetration, connection with the partner, but the body is still holding protective tension. So first, let's talk about this muscle guarding and the nervous system. The nervous system controls muscles throughout the body, including the pelvic floor, the group of muscles that support the pelvic organs and play an important role in sexual response. So when the brain senses threat, one of the most common protective reactions is muscle tension. It's an automatic reflex, right? If you think of yourself in another area where you all of a sudden felt alarmed, for example, or like the phone rang and you weren't expecting it to ring, it can sometimes make us jump. So it's the same protective reflex that happens when something is unexpected. It happens during this experience of self-pleasure or partnered sex. This jolt to the system, as we might call it, can show up as pelvic floor tightening. It can show up as vaginismus, where the muscles of the vagina completely tighten and do not allow penetration. It can result in abdominal tension, difficulty relaxing during sex, and one of the most important things is reduced sensation. So these reactions, they're your body's reactions. They're not signs of the body malfunctioning or that anything is wrong with the body. They are signs that your nervous system is protecting itself. So the first thing is to reframe, right? Instead of thinking, what's wrong with me? How come I'm not feeling any sensation? The question to ask is, how might nervous system be trying to protect me? Am I hiding under the covers because I feel sexual shame when I'm alone and masturbating? One woman shared that with me recently, and it was like, because she had asked about why is she not feeling sensation? And then when we went a layer deeper, she said, I have to turn off the lights and I have to be under the covers completely. There's her answer. And that's exactly what I told her. Your nervous system is trained to be on alert because you're hiding. And there's shame. There's layers of shame, and shame is a threat to the nervous system. So let's talk about what's called interoception, which is the brain's awareness of what's happening in the body. This concept refers to the brain's ability to perceive and interpret internal bodily sensations. So if you think about it, when we are speaking another language, for example, or we're learning another language, we translate it. What's happening here is your body is picking up on the internal signals, and signals like muscle tension, or the opposite, relaxation, warmth, pressure, subtle shifts in arousal. Because research shows that when people develop stronger awareness of these internal sensations, they're better able to regulate their nervous system and respond to bodily cues. So in other words, what this means is the brain becomes better at recognizing when the body is safe enough to relax and receive sensation, similar to learning another language and becoming better, understanding what you're hearing or being able to speak the language better. Your brain becomes better at interpreting, oh, we can relax here, we're safe. So this example of this woman that I'm sharing with you, for her now to learn, okay, and honestly, this is where cannabis can help, which is a different topic, but I'm going to bring it up here, where a woman can enter the state using cannabis. And if you haven't used it before, I would suggest speaking with your doctor or a cannabis doctor to see if it's for you, and learn how to, in the sense of using cannabis, to really connect with sensation and enter a state of safety where you can begin to see what's going on here, just to become aware and to start to repattern some of the thinking processes. Oh, wow, I keep masturbating even though, for example, my solar plexus are tight, but I bypass that. So we're going to talk about bypassing in just a minute. So protective patterns in the body, like what do they look like? For some people, especially those who have experienced stress, trauma, or repeated uncomfortable sexual experiences, the body may have learned protective patterns that persist, whether we like it or not. And these patterns can include chronic pelvic floor tension, shallow breathing, like not practicing deep breath, difficulty relaxing during sex. Many women have talked to me about, I just can't seem to relax when I'm having sex. Heightened startle responses, like I mentioned earlier, when the phone rings and jumping, like that's telling me like, oh, your body's on a little bit of a high alert. Again, and importantly, the body's not broken. Your body's not broken. The nervous system has simply learned patterns of overprotection. And what does that mean? That we can unlearn them, ladies. We have this beautiful thing called neuroplasticity, which is the rewiring of our brain. Researchers used to think that once the adult brain was formed, it was formed. We are who we are. Now, researchers know through what's called neuroplasticity, meaning that we can repattern and retrain ourselves as adults to rehab ourselves. I mean, for anyone who's ever been to physical therapy, you know that we can rehab. There's no question about that. And it's the same with orgasm. So starting to look at orgasm as something that we're rehabbing. And with that, that's how this concept I've developed called sexual neurorehabilitation, how it helps and what it is. This is where sexual neurorehabilitation becomes important in medicine because rehabilitation helps the body function after injury. And I mentioned physical therapy will retrain your muscles and movement patterns. Neurological rehabilitation helps the brain rebuild neural pathways. And sexual neurorehabilitation applies similar principles to sexual function. Right? So the goal is not to force the body to respond. Instead, the goal is to help your nervous system relearn states of safety, relaxation, and sensory awareness. Over time, your body can learn that sexual experiences are not situations that require protection. Because if you create a scenario where you feel safe and you enter a sexual scenario where you feel safe, whether it's by yourself or with a partner or partners, that your alert system doesn't have to be on, wondering, is somebody going to hear me? Am I going to be making too much noise? Do I look okay? All that, your mind can become quiet because all of those voices in our heads can actually dissipate, and where we can slip into an experience of enjoying the sensations that we're experiencing. It's not just possible, it's probable, and it's likely, as someone who myself suffered for more than 30 years with orgasm difficulty and saw 4 sex therapists who tried to quote unquote help me. And the reality was I ended up doing my own research and finding that there was a retraining that needed to take place and that I needed to see where I was judging myself where I was goal oriented, for example, wanting that orgasm. I say it almost with gritting my teeth because we like, we want the orgasm, but we're trained to want the orgasm. That's not how our body responds. Think of sleep. When you go to sleep at night, we don't say, am I going to fall asleep tonight? Am I almost falling asleep? That can result in a sleep disorder. And it's the same with an orgasmic disorder or a difficulty disorder, meaning it's not in order. Those kind of thoughts. Am I going to orgasm? How long is it going to take me? All these types of thoughts are actually creating the problem. So our goal here is to quiet all those thoughts and to create an environment where safety exists. Some women had talked about living at home and their parents, and they're worried they're going to come knock on their door. We make sure that we're safe no matter what. That's number one. So our goal is to create the safety so that our experiences of pleasure and openness become more and more common in our body. So here's some simple ways to retrain your nervous system. One is slowing down the pace of sexual activity by yourself or with a partner so your body has time to respond and relax. Here, again, I want to just stress that if you become aware that you're judging yourself or you're goal-oriented, you can bring that experience closer to yourself. One woman had described it to me as she was retraining herself to experience orgasm and to let go. Her brain would put her on alert and say, by the way, you're getting ready to orgasm. And she would say, thank you for letting me know. And it's really not helpful for me to know that. So instead of trying to push the thoughts away, bring them closer to you so you can evaluate them and even do some journaling after. Look at it as sexual practice, right? Instead of looking at it like going to the Olympics without having any training. So consider yourself in training if you're learning how to orgasm or relearning. Some women lost their ability to orgasm after radical hysterectomies. I've had women tell me they lost their ability to orgasm after a traumatic relationship, or one woman lost her ability after 3 surgeries, changed the shape of her vagina, and sex became painful. These women all relearned how to orgasm, and they happen to have used medical cannabis in doing so. That is one tool that has been scientifically proven to be effective in helping women orgasm. Another way to retrain is to bring the attention back to the body through sensory awareness. If you're like, oh, wow, I'm thinking about something outside myself, bring yourself back and okay, let me connect with my breath here. And even if that means telling your partner, hey, let's stop for a second. I'm noticing that I'm starting to have thoughts outside of the bedroom, or I'm noticing I'm starting to worrying about something, or just stop. Say, hey, can we stop for a second and just breathe together? Reconnect with yourself and your partner. Notice warmth, notice subtle sensations, rather than focusing on the performance or the goal of orgasm, right? We want to get that goal piece out of the way. Another important step is removing the pressure to achieve orgasm, allowing the body to explore sensation without any expectation. There's a practice called orgasmic meditation that actually helped me tremendously get out of this goal-oriented sex, as we call it. The goal of having an orgasm and just feel. I'm going to take that goal out of the way and I'm going to feel. So we're in a whole retraining space. I'm going to enter a training program for how to rehabilitate my orgasm with sexual neurorehabilitation. And these small shifts help the nervous system gradually learn that it's safe to release this protective layer of tension and hypervigilance. And I've talked a number of times about these mental walls that women have shared with me, and myself having them as well. The walls that keep us safe, particularly women who have had sexual trauma or abuse or rape. One woman had shared that she had been raped as a teenager, and she told her then partner, hey, I haven't been able to orgasm by myself or with a partner. I was raped as a teenager, and her partner said, try this. And he gave her a hit of cannabis. She orgasmed the first time she used it. And they use cannabis before sex now for 15 years. They have 2 teenagers. But clearly she had already had a level of safety with her partner and safety in her body for her to be able to use cannabis and allow it to work. Allow herself to surrender. That's kind of like what I call the Goldilocks. Goldilocks had to find the right bed to sleep in. With using cannabis, you have to find the right amount. And it says go low and go slow. All right, let's return to our point here. It's not about stimulation at all. It's this protective pattern that we're learning to unlearn. And the most important question to ask yourself, does my body feel safe enough to relax? Know that your body is incredibly intelligent. If it senses danger, it's going to protect you. Even if you say, no, it's okay, don't worry, I don't have to worry about it. Your body is still going to say, we have to protect you. Your body is going to override even your conscious mind that says, no, it doesn't matter that my parents are in the next room. Your body's going to say, we're going to make sure you're going to be safe. But if the alert system's on, you can basically throw away the idea of having an orgasm. So when the nervous system begins to recognize signals of safety that you can train yourself to have in your environment, in your mind, no judging your body, something remarkable starts to happen. Your protection can soften, your muscles can relax, and your attention can move to sensation. And when those conditions are restored, the body knows how to move towards pleasure and orgasm. What does my body need to feel safe? And then relearning safety, which is the heart of sexual neurorehabilitation. I welcome you to share this video with those who may like it, to subscribe to our channel, and to help us continue to get the message out about there's 5 actual steps. Safety is the first to rehabilitate your orgasm. And I'm delighted to be here with you today. Thanks again for watching.